Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Thor issue 13. And this was an amazing issue. I really liked how this was able to fully flesh out Carl Borson and just give us he's not a completely good character, but he has his moments, and we see definitely the parallels of him being the Loki to Odin's Thor. And seeing him kind of come to terms with that by the end of the issue is really great. So we start off and we see it pretty much at the end of the issue. He's got this armful of this glowing stuff, and these kids are asking him to pretty much help him. And he's talking about like times when people have like these greatest moments in their lives, and how mortals have only like a few, but gods could have so many they can't even remember. And so we then kind of go through their history. We see young Kull and young Odin, and of course, Kull is supposed to be the first one for the throne, and he really doesn't look at he hates his family. He doesn't really like that he's got to vie for the throne with his brother Odin, and of course they got into a thing where they'd go into the armory. One of them would pick up whichever weapon they want and strike the other one. Of course, Odin goes for this hammer, but he can't pick it up. So and then it's Kull's turn, and he uses the weapon of fear and talks about like what Thor said about Odin. Of course, it sets Odin to crying, and he's like, "Why'd you do that? You didn't even hit me with anything. You didn't even use a weapon." He's like, "Oh yeah, I used the greatest weapon, your fears." And then we go forward in time and we see that after Thor's death, Kull took over, and his forces are talking about how someone's coming that's got like a god's rage that they've never seen before, and Odin busts in, powerful and badass, actually wielding the hammer that he could not wield as a younger child, and how he has conquered his fears of Kull, and he calls out Kull for making slaves and killing people that are like his opponents, and of course Kull's thinking he can use the fear against him, but he can't. Odin has conquered his fears, and he lays down a beating that is completely and utterly brutal. He says it's like the worst that he's ever had. And the art for this is like amazing and just gross. It's like, holy shit. We then see that we're going through the rest of the things, rest of the timeline. We see Odin and Thor yelling at each other when Jane Foster was Thor. We see that Malekith came to tempt him to take over the throne after Odin's dead, and he's like, nah, I'm not interested in it. And of course, Malekith's like, I didn't think he'd, uh, really disappointed in him, goes off, and then we get into Odin having sent him into Svartalheim to figure out what's going on. Seen him kind of sneak around, get one dark elf and torture him and learn about the Black Bifrost, and then finds out that it's powered by these crystallized mushrooms and that the mines are not as guarded as the Black Bifrost. So he goes in there, he's able to take them all out, badass style. This is him taking them out with that axe is fucking gross and beautiful. The art for it just, so damn good. So he gets there, he sees the crystallized mushrooms, the children are pleading with him to break the chains and everything, and this is where you kind of get back to the beginning. And he's like, fine, whatever, screw it, and he decides to break their chains and everything. And we see, as he's pretty much telling them, as he's trying to defend them as best as he can, talking about love as well, and how he'd usually have a fear of rejection and he would lash out and use that aggression, but the thing is, he would always be miserable and lonely. And that factored into his decision to break those chains. And he's telling them to get out, and because they were digging tunnels to escape. And they were put in these mines for like the most stupid of reasons, because Malekith had pretty much deemed him weak for all these stupid little slights. And they're like, we were digging an escape tunnel, but it's not done. He's like, take one of the crystallized mushrooms and blow them up. You'll get out. You're good. But of course, he gets wounded, and you see him going through all this, talking about how he shouldn't have waited so long for love, and how makes you kind of a fragile thing, but also unstoppable, as he's taking out all these dark elves. But of course, he's severely wounded. They're gloating that they're taking a godhead to Malekith. He's like, yeah, screw that, because they don't even know his name. He's like, you'll know of Kull, and he slams into a pile of the crystallized mushrooms and blows it out. We see that the kids made it out and they're sad about this fact. And then we go a couple days later, we see Lady Freya are just at the Black Bifrost like a badass, which it's really kind of cool to see the same scene done in a different art style and how this does just as much justice as in the main War in the Realms event. But of course, they're talking about going after her, the Dark Elves with their poison viper arrows. But of course, we hear now and we see that the children have been inspired by Cole. And we see, of course, narrating that nobody's going to sing my name, sing praises of me, and everybody's name will be forgotten, even Thor's will. But we see that these kids remember the name, and the one main kid that we've seen is actually using Cull's war axe, and that they're going up against this, and they're going to take the realm back and stop these kinds of wars as they're taking out the Dark Elves. And it was just really nice. It was cool to see that even if you've got certain roles in your life, like Cull's being a god of fear, he has done some horrible things like slaves and killing people and all that, but in the end, he chose to do a heroic act and save these children. And because of that heroic act, they were inspired to do their own heroic act of fighting against Malekith and joining in the War of Realms, not as Malekith's pawns, but as agents in their own right, and using what Cull did for them as their impetus to do other greater good things to help people. It's like, wow, that's really kind of cool and just a really great story, even if it's just a one-off one. So it sucks that we've lost Cull Borson, but it was a good death and it was a good story. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.